welcome. Let some people tune in before we start chatting about tomorrow's big game. Welcome everyone, hope you've all had a great week. Hope you've all stayed healthy, stayed indoors and haven't caught the coronavirus yet. G'day Daryl. Welcome everyone, keep tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on the team selection. We'll have a big discussion about that and why that might be the case. Thursday night footy, yeah. Hair does look good, thanks Richard. G'day Paul, welcome everyone. Let's wait for a few more people to tune in before we get started. Because it's weird doing it on a Wednesday night, I have to say. It's I can't remember the last time we played a Thursday night game. I don't know if any of you guys remember when we played Thursday night last, but comment and let me know if you remember. I can't remember the last time we played Thursday night. I remember playing Carlton on a Friday night a few years ago, Friday the 13th, and that we won pretty comfortably, but apart from that, I can't remember too many prime time games against Carlton in recent memory. That's it. There's enough people tuning in, so I reckon let's get into it. Stu's just finished the podcast, so he's come straight from hearing us talk about this game on a podcast yesterday to coming here. So if you guys haven't listened to the podcast yet, get on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Saints TV Podcast, and you'll enjoy us chatting about the win against Richmond and previewing this big game, which we will preview right now. So let's just go through the teams. Let's get it from the top. Round 5 team. In Jaron Geary, the captain, returns from a couple of weeks out, and the out is a huge one. It's disappointing. Zach Jones out injured. He went through a fitness test today. I saw a bunch of photos online about from that, and he didn't look very comfortable. He didn't take any part in the full training session. He did a lot of light running, but apart from that, no ball training or anything like that. So that's a real downside. The other one that kind of is a bit annoying is the Jack Bytel situation. A lot of talk that this was going to be the week for him to debut and to play his first game in the red, white and black. The Saints even came out yesterday and posted a teaser photo, who are we going to pick? And they had Bytel as the face of it, knowing well that a lot of fans want to see Jack Bytel out there. And I guess, when you lose a midfielder like Zach Jones, you probably think, okay, a straight swap. With Luke Dunstan now out for most of the season, a straight swap would have to be a like-for-like midfielder, like a Bytel or even a Ryan Burns, who he's not had a chance yet, and he's obviously very young. But Burns, if there was a good tweet I think I saw yesterday, and it was basically the height, weight, and I can't remember what the other one was, of Ryan Burns versus Zach Jones, and they're all identical. He's 81 kilograms, 181 centimeters. And he's very fast, so he had all the boxes ticked to replace Zach Jones, but I guess in a critical game for our season, maybe it's not the right time to debut him. I don't know, you wouldn't put them against Geelong the next week or Port the week after, so everyone thought made sense having a short week, 5-day break, limited fitness, limited recovery time, a couple of players injured, that this would obviously open the door for a few first gamers, but that wasn't to be the case, unfortunately. But we've got our captain back, and I've got an inkling as to why. He's obviously our captain, so there's a straight walk back into the best 22. But I think he's got a really, really important role in this game, and that's to take out Doherty, who is the controller. He is the rebound. He is the class act in that back line for Carlton, and I think we might see him in the forward line doing a defensive role if Marsh doesn't do that. I think Jono Marsh might have first dibs on it, but I think Geary will have the balance of going forward and playing a defensive role in someone that's hurting us. And if the game's going well, then maybe he doesn't need to do that, and he can just stay in the back half and play on someone like Eddie Betts. And we know that he's had history with Eddie Betts before. He's kept him quiet. He's had bags kicked on him. He's matched up on him, for the last 5 or 6 seasons. It's kind of the go-to, Geary on Betts. The shorter player, more mobile, small forward. So that makes sense for me. It would be a bit of an interesting one if Geary wasn't captain, if he would have been brought back into the game, back into the team. But I definitely think he is. I think some people on here will say he's not best 22, but when you look at some of the acts that he does that aren't really stats, they don't get collected on the stat sheet That's why he's captain. He puts his body on the line. He gets hurt. He misses games because of that. Last year against Melbourne, we were 40 points up, and he still made a goal-saving tackle in the last 3 minutes, and that caused him to be out for the majority of the rest of the year. These are the sort of things that set the tone for a young team. And if he comes out tomorrow and lays a massive tackle on even like someone like Casbolt, who's bigger than him, but he takes him down, similar to his tackle on Patton a few seasons ago, that's when you start to realise the invaluable quality of having him in the team versus him out of the team. The good thing is we've had a couple of weeks without him, so we've learnt about everyone. There's been leaders that have stood up that, Ben Patton's done well, Nick Coffield in the back line, Hunter Clark's had to stand up, Jack Billings has been really mature about his last few weeks. So we've had the youngsters have to grow faster because we're lacking that leadership. But having him back, I think, really does settle us. I think the back line was as good as it's been in a long time last week, and I think having Geary there as well is going to make it even stronger. And even then, it could release a Hunter Clark into the midfield. We're losing Zach Jones, maybe someone from the back line that, can be released into the midfield, and Geary will just take their position. We've got Ben Long there. Who's to say he can't go in the midfield for 5-10 minutes a quarter and lay some tackles and get some speed in there? Hunter Clark, building to being a gun midfielder. We've seen what he can do at half back. Maybe this is the chance to put Geary in that position, get Clark in the middle, and then we'll see what we can do. So I don't mind those changes. I like what Ratton's doing. It's a settled team, guys. It's so good to have, a couple of positive performances this season and to see that Rats is rewarding the good work. But there's no doubt he's making them complacent. There is no doubt about that. We saw the video, I think Saints posted last night about Ratton after the game last week and how, we've equalled the ledger and now, how good could we be? That's what he said. He said, this is the challenge for the team. This is only the beginning. We've just taken down one of the big boys in Richmond. What's there ahead of us that should stop us, that we should be afraid of? There's nothing. It's only forward from here. And I love that approach to his coaching. Straight after the game, puts it to them that the challenge, it hasn't even started yet. This is the challenge, is to respond after having a great win against a top 4 team and reigning premier. Now we need to beat a bottom 4 team from last season. If we do not perform in this game, last week's win is not going to feel as good, and I can guarantee it. We will all think that was a blip on the radar. That was, that was an outlier. That was a one-off. We don't want that. And I said the exact. If you go back to my preview from 2 weeks ago, before we played Collingwood, it was the exact same thing. We had a good win against the Bulldogs, and then I said, we can't go out against Collingwood and have a shit one because then it looks like it's a one-off. We go out and have a shit one, but then we respond again. Typical Saints fashion, we get our hopes up again. So I put it to the team that this is the game. This is a more danger game than last week's. Honestly, this one is more dangerous because there's more resting on it, and if we win this, we go 3-2. We'll probably go into a New South Wales hub at that point. Then we play Geelong and Port Adelaide, both winnable games. We don't know how good Port are going to be in a couple of weeks. This game sets up our season, and Carlton, scarily enough, are the same way. They're 2-2. They've had 2 close wins in a row. They would be full of confidence. They beat us last year at the MCG. It's on free-to-air, so everyone in the AFL world is going to be watching this. Even if they hate it, they're going to be watching it because it's footy, and no matter what, you put footy on when it's on free-to-air. So this is a massive game for us. We need to come out and, imagine if we just come out and get the job done. No messing around. We come out, 4-quarter performance, we win by 6 goals and it's game over. That's the ideal situation. I think it's going to be a bit more difficult than that. Carlton are going to come out. They're not afraid of us. They're going to see us as a definitely winnable game. They've taken down Geelong in Geelong. They've got Paddy Cripps. They've got Mackay's come back. Zach Fisher's come back. They've got the superstar Jack Nunes, guys. They've got the Dr. Nunes. So we're going to have to tag him out of the game, that's for sure. And that's now I'm just thinking about Jack Nunes. They've got a very strong midfield. They've got a very stable back line. They've got Wiedering, who's probably the best fullback in the competition right now. He loves to stay at home. And if you listen to the podcast, Joycey Marshy and I talked about how we're going to have a rotating sort of policy where Marshall's going to have to go deep. Max King's going to have to push up the ground. Josh Battle will go deep. Tim Membry will go deep. But they'll all have to rotate because we're going to have to create some sort of confusion in that back line. Some sort of unease, about them because they're very comfortable there. they'd be one of the best defensive teams in terms of their planning from the back half, and a lot of their attacking forays from the back half through Doherty. So we need to stop him, and we need to keep Wiedering accountable. If we can do that, I think that goes to a long way towards winning the game. I think our back line, with the inclusion of Dougal Howard, Carlisle hitting some form last week, even Wilkie just doing what he does, and no fuss with Wilkie, no matter who he plays on, he does the job. I think we can handle their forwards, although they've got McGovern, they've got Mackay, they've got Eddie Betts. There's a dangerous sort of there's a lot of danger to that forward line, but if we negate that, it's similar to Richmond. We negate the input into that forward half, and then I think we can get them on the outside. I think, reading online, a lot of Carlton supporters are pissed off that this game is at Marvel now and it's not at the MCG because of the closeness of the ground, the size of it. We've won 5 of 6 at Marvel under Brett Ratton in his career so far as a St Kilda coach, and the only loss was to North by 2 points. So we could have been undefeated under Brett Ratton at Marvel Stadium for the first 6 weeks. Not to be, but still 5-1. It's a very good record, and it suits us. It's a fast deck. I know having Zach Jones out sucks, and he was so good in the last 2 or 3 weeks, pretty much the whole season. But I think we can replace him. I think our ball movement is fast enough that we can miss Zach Jones. I think it's okay. He didn't have a massive one last week. He had a few very nice plays, but he wasn't the Dan Butler of last week. And I just want to shed some light and congratulate Dougal Howard. Guys, Dougal Howard's playing his 50th game in AFL, not for the club obviously, but in AFL. Dan Butler's 50th game as well. So we have 2 milestones in this game. We've got Dougal Howard playing his 50th and Dan Butler playing their 50th. So no doubt we need to be up and about for them. It's only their 3rd or 4th game for the club, but it's a big deal. They're both future stars of the club. Dan Butler's already flying, and Dougal Howard's, the golden fist and just the general in the back half this season. So congrats to them. What do I think is going to happen before we get into comments? I think Carlton are going to come out guns blazing. I think they're going to hit us hard early. They're going to try and negate our speed. But I think the more the game goes on, the more we're going to wear them down. I think they're going to, it's going to be that sort of game where I wouldn't be surprised if Carlton are leading at quarter time, half time, even 3/4 time. But I think at some point things are going to click and we're going to kick successive goals and we're going to get away. So I'm hoping that the fitness of the team isn't affected by this 5-day break. And I'm hoping that the fact it's now at Marvel means that we can utilise our speed even more. But yeah, I'm not super confident, but I'm after last week's performance, I feel like we've learnt enough from that Collingwood game that we know we're not going to take this for granted. And if we're going to lose, it's going to be because Carlton played the game of their life. We're not going to be handing games to Carlton. Not like we did to Collingwood 2 weeks ago. That's non-negotiable now, I think, after the way we handled the Bulldogs win and then we effed it up against Collingwood. This is a different ballgame. Prime time, with a chance to go 3-2 to set up our bloody season. And who cares if the season's in disarray, thanks to Steel Side Bottom, but let's just get the win on the board and then next Thursday night come back and smash the Cats. So that's my approach. I think that Rowan Marshall in the ruck is fine. No Paddy Ryder. Dean Kent retained his spot. He had a great game last week, kicking 2 goals, being a late in. And, it would have been great to have Jack Bytel or Ryan Burns have a chance, but, they'll get their chance. They will get their chance, and it's good that we've got players like that to excite the fans and the club when there's a chance that they can play. Let's go through the comments. I'll scroll back to the top. Thanks to everyone for commenting. There's been a few already. Where is Webster? I guess with Geary coming back, there's probably no space for him in that back line. I wouldn't change it too much. You're not going to bring in Geary and Webster because I think that mixes things up a bit too much, and they're both very similar. They're the small forward. So I think having Geary back, and he's already had games under his belt this season, and he's suited to playing on Eddie Betts or even going forward and playing a defensive forward role. I think that he's the good pick, and I think Webster will get his chance again, similar to the other guys. How does Seb Ross still get a game? That's from Brad. Yes, he's been a bit disappointing, I'll give you that. But I think we did talk about this in the podcast as well. He did a job on, I think it was Paddy Cripps. I think he kind of tagged him in a way. Oh no, sorry, Paddy Cripps. That's this week. Last week, Dustin Martin. He went on Dustin Martin. He did a really good tagging job. I know he stuffed up a few things and he did that handball backwards and Richmond kicked a goal from it, but he did a few nice things and he kept one of the best player, the best midfielder in the competition to a level that meant he didn't decide the game. He didn't dictate the game like he likes to, and Dusty loves to have the ball on a string, but Seb Ross made sure that he didn't. So it could be an interesting one. I don't know if Jack Steele's probably going to start on Paddy Cripps, but I wouldn't be surprised if Seb Ross goes to him at some point. Zach Jones will hurt. Burns says Jet needs to come in for Patton and Gears for Jones, says Eugene. I don't get all this hate for good old Benny Patton. He's been an awesome acquisition in that back half. He's been calm, he's been composed without doing anything incredible. His man never gets the better of him, and he's a great disposer of the ball. And having someone that can distribute the ball at a high efficiency under pressure is invaluable. And I think Ben Patton, along with Hunter Clark and Dougal Howard and these sort of guys, we're not just hacking it out of the back half anymore. We're actually lasering it to players that open up the game. We're kicking it to that 50 to 40 metre mark to a play that's available that has someone running past, and it opens up the game. We cut it back inboard, and then you've got multiple leads from Membry, Marsh, King. You've even got Marshall resting forward. It's a new St Kilda so far. So I think reverting to those sort of blokes is regressing, but I'm glad that players like Patton and Caulfield are getting consistent chance. Cannon says if there is a team Ratton wants to beat, it's definitely this mob. That's definitely true. But he did say, it was in the article that I read today, that it's any other game, any other opponent for him. It's been a long time since he was coach of Carlton. No ill feelings. He's a Saints coach now. He wants to get the 4 points. So that's his priority, and that's what we want. Michael says, huge game this week. So happy that the experienced head is in, despite my excitement of hearing Burns and Bytel are looking really good. They are. They're training really well. They look fit. Wouldn't be surprised if they come in the next 3 to 4 weeks, honestly. They're ready for it. Maybe they just need a few more pracky games under their belts because they obviously don't have VFL to fall back on. Who replaces the Jones boy in the guts, says Michael. Michael. I mentioned earlier, I think maybe someone like a Hunter Clark could get in there. We might see more spells from, Billings and Gresh rotating into the forward line, but also going into the middle at the bounce. I definitely think that Ben Long could have a go there, but I think it wouldn't be a shock to see Hunter Clark getting a proper run in the midfield in this one, especially to replace, the power of Zach Jones. Hunter Clark can do it in a different way. He does it by slowing down time and getting the hands or the kick-off when no one thinks he has time to do it. So I think Hunter Clark gets a go there. Andrew says, selection, not surprising, considering we won. That's right, we won. Good feeling. Bit uninspiring selection-wise, though. Really a great time to blood Bytel or Burns, I would have thought. Understand picking Geary, but like would have been Patton or Caulfield out. No chance. Again, more hate on Patton and Caulfield. I disagree there. I don't think Patton and Caulfield are coming out anytime soon. They are going to be the Enrights of the backline. Everyone focuses on the star power of Geelong in 07, 9 and 11, but you forget about these other backmen that just did the job every week and were very good. And I think Caulfield and Patton are becoming those players. So they definitely do not deserve to be dropped. Cooper says, pissed off with no Robbo. Yeah, no mention of Dylan Robertson. Savage or Jimmy Webster, even Sinclair, get rid of Long, the Butcher, same with Caulfield and Patton. Far out, more Caulfield and Patton. And Ben Long. Ben Long laid about 7 or 8, nerve-bending tackles last week. He rocked some of the bigger Richmond players, and he had a critical say in the result of the game, I thought. So there's no way Long comes out. There is no way Caulfield and Patton comes out. So I'm not sure where all this hate's coming from. Gary says, need to start well and the skipper will lead the way. 100%. We came out of the blocks pretty well against Richmond. We did the same against the Dogs. We did the same against North. We've won 3 of 4 first quarters, apart from Collingwood. So if we come out of the blocks again, I dare say that Carlton will be chasing our tails all day and we will just grow in confidence, and it might get a little ugly if we get our our heads up and start running forward of the ball with no pressure. Jack says, look, I'm not confident I see Jones as our rock. I agree, but I think, if anything, the way we're playing under Ratton, it's not really dictated by having a superstar run the show. I know Butler had a great game last week and Membry had a great game, but you see the difference with teams like Richmond. Cochin had a quiet one, Dustin Martin had a quiet one, Jack Reel didn't really kick that many goals, and Tom Lynch didn't do too much, and their Smalls did nothing. They're effed when that happens. I think with us, we've had games where Billings hasn't really touched it. We've had games where Gresh has been quiet, where Membry hasn't kicked a goal, with King hasn't kicked a goal. But we still won. We still beat the Dogs doing that, and we still beat Richmond doing that. So I think, we'll be able to cover Zach Jones. It's a massive loss because he gives us more freedom and X factor in the midfield, but I think we'll be able to cover him with the players that we've already got in the squad. 50 stars from Jan. Thanks very much. Ryan says Clark named as a midfielder on the team sheet too. There you go. I think 100% we'll see Hunter Clark as a midfielder. I don't know if he'll have, a big game in the midfield, but I'd say split half-back and midfield 50-50 in this one and see how he goes. I'd love to see him have a game where he can really get the ball and accumulate it and have, he has 20 possessions off half-back. Imagine in midfield chasing the ball all day. He'll finish with 30-35, and that would be amazing for someone in his third season. Bed says, with Jones out, we need someone else other than Steele that can win the contested footy. I agree with you there. I think, I'm just got the team in front of me. I'm just going to look at the mids. So we've got Brad Hill, Hunter Clark named in the centre, Seb Ross, and then you've got Marshall, Steele and Gresham. So I think Gresham needs to stand up this week. I know he had his eye problem, and it's great to see that's recovered. The photo came out today, and it looks pretty much like it's nothing anymore. Players like him are going to have to stand up and get a lot of that inside ball. Dan Hanbury has got to stand up. This is his game to really announce himself, which is kind of funny to say because he's a All-Australian Premiership player, but he hasn't had a dominant game for the club yet. He's had 7 games in a row for the club, which is great considering all of his injury woes, but this is the game where I want him to have 25-30 and really control the game. Zach Jones is missing. We need someone to stand up. It's got to be Brad Hill. It's got to be Dan Hanbury. It's got to be the entire midfield. They all have to stand up. And Rowan Marshall will lead the way in the ruck. No doubt about that. What happened to Dunstan is asking Christina. I think he tore his pec. I think he tore his pectoral ligament or something. I'm not sure what the terminology is, but he's definitely a muscle in his pec has been torn, and it's one of those ones that takes a long time to repair itself. So that's pretty much the season for him, which is terrible news because losing Zach Jones, I dare say it, but maybe Luke Dunstan would have had a look in this week if not for his injury. So terrible news there. Let's go with Luke. About time we were on free-to-wear TV. Go Saints. We should beat Carlton. Liking the confidence and also hating the confidence. I don't know what it's like for a lot of you guys watching, but I don't try to get ahead of myself at any opportunity because things change very fast, and we're Saints fans. We know what happens when we hit a high. Shit hits the fan, and we get a serious reality check, which has happened many times, including this year already. So if we beat Carlton, I'll get excited. I get excited every time we win, but I don't want to get ahead of ourselves and say we're top 8 right yet. We need to beat teams like Richmond, which we've done. Now we need to beat teams that are around us and below us. And that's almost more important than competing against the big boys. Because it's easy to get up and about to play big teams. I know there's no crowds, but they're big teams. They're the reigning premiers. You want to prove to the footy world that you're good enough. It's harder when you're playing someone that you're expected to win. We're favourites, rightly so, but we're favourites, and we never like being favourites in a game. We struggle with that. So I want us to come out and play the exact same way. Treat Carlton like they're the reigning premiers. That would be great. Nick saying Sinclair should have come in instead of Geary. Another good one. Sinclair would have had a great day at the office. Open Marvel deck, and we haven't really seen his game plan under Brett Ratton. We've seen his game plan under Richo and Scotty Waters to a lesser extent, but we haven't seen him in an open game where he can really just run and gun and use his foot skills. But no doubt he'll get a chance. And that depth that's amazing. That's great depth to have. Andrew says, like the idea of midfield time for Hunter and that Caulfield is building. Geary should play defensive role against Doherty 100%. I think he'll have a say in that. Ryder should be in, says Tony. I don't know about that. They've got the one ruck. I think they've got the one ruck. Is Cruiser playing? I don't think Cruiser's playing. They've got the one ruck. Yeah, I'd let Rowe go at it alone. I think he's got a big chance of owning this one. Nathan says Geary gives us flexibility, right call, bringing him back, whether he plays on Doherty or even on Carlton. Small forwards, he'll have a bit of both. Mark says Saints will win the flag. Whoop, whoop. Greg is saying, loving the podcast, mate. Thanks, mate. Had me laughing today. God, I wish it went for longer. That's very flattering. They're 45 minutes. We don't want to go too long, but if you want longer, we'll have a go. So Geary in for Jones. So who moves to the wing? Well, I think the wings are pretty much sold. Seb Ross is named on the wing, but we know that Jack Billings will have a say on the wing. Brad Hill. I think that you've got players like Hunter Clark that can go there. Dan Hanbury will play on the wing as well. And then you'll see Josh Battle move up to that position. Dan Butler will move up to that position. Dean Kent will move up to that position. So they'll all be rotating. And I think that's the way we need to go to just create some sort of confusion in that back half. Luke is saying, I've watched Blue Abroad over the last week and the Carlton arrogance is back. Hopefully this week we can put them back in their place and show the comp that we are a great team. That is a good point. I've read it. Not Blue Abroad. I mean, I went on their Instagram today, just had a quick chat with the guy that runs it, Terry, and he's a great bloke. He's very down to earth. But on Big Footy, on the threads I've read on there with the Carlton boards, God, they are, they really do love their Blues, but they love them almost too much. And there was someone, and I'll quote, they said, St Kilda has the most vanilla midfield in the competition. The most vanilla. But then he goes on to say, but they also have Brad Hill and Jack Billings, which is probably the best wing partnership in the league. So he kind of contradicted himself there, but that's the sort of stuff that they were saying. So I hope we can put that all to bed this time tomorrow. Hey Jakey, says Marcus. G'day, mate. Nick says, we have a serious problem with Gear. If he wasn't captain, he would not be playing this week. He should do the right thing and retire. I think this might be his last year, but I think he's still got enough in the tank to lead the team. And like I said before, it's all of the acts that he does behind the scenes that we don't see, that don't get on the stat sheet. They're in the closed doors of the club. The words that he says, the way he talks, he gets everyone motivated. And I think that's really important. And when you look at the current team we have, I don't see anyone else standing up and taking ownership of that. And Gear is the one doing it. So there is no reason why he doesn't deserve to be captain, and no reason why he shouldn't play this season and have a big, important role in our team. Khan the Blues, says Adrian. Look out, the Saints are coming through and it's all over now. Baby Blue, says Joe. Battle starting forward, good change, I reckon. Yes, I agree with that. Battle had a great game last week. We wanted him to play for so long. He comes in and he had 16 disposals, kicked a goal and set up another goal. And some of the tackles he laid. For a guy that's 21 years old, he is a massive unit. Like, he'd be a starting centre-half forward or, that sort of ilk in most other teams. We're lucky that we have Tim Membry and Max King already there. So Battle gets the third defender, and even then John O'Marsh gets another one, and they can really outmuscle and outmark those sort of players because, not many teams have 3 and 4 talls in that back half. When is Gresham going to kick a bag, says Joel? I'm hoping tomorrow. He's got a good record against the Blues, so I'm hoping we play him a bit more deep and he kicks a bag. Same with Max King. I think in the podcast, Joycey, I'll call him out, Joycey said that maybe this was a week or next week would be the week to rest Max King, but on evidence from last week, he didn't kick a goal, but he got to so many contests and almost took so many marks. I think this is the game where maybe on a Wiedering where everyone talks about how good Wiedering is and motivates Max, and he has one of those games where it doesn't matter who he's on, but he's going to mark everything and kick a couple of goals. I'd love for him to finish with 10 marks and 3 goals. That would be a massive success. I don't think he's looking tired. He's looking fit. There's no reason to drop him. What about Savage or Robertson? Again, I don't think we have the room in the back half for them, unfortunately. This time last year, I'd be saying, yes, they're in. But in a team that has Ben Patton playing well, Cal Wilkie playing well, Jake Carlisle, best game last week, Ben Long, rebound half-back flanker that you need, Dougal Howard, the Golden Fist, and then Jaron Geary, the captain, the leader, and the instigator, and the controller of the back half. There's no room for Savage or Webster. And they don't really play any other position. That's the thing. They're not the sort of player that, we can fit them into the team. They're really the one position sort of player. Just Daryl, 500 stars. Thanks, mate. Really appreciate that. It's really nice. And thanks to everyone for watching. It's Wednesday night, so I understand some people have plans, but it's good to tune in and have a chat about the Saints. Nick says that's true, but Geary's 32 now, and he's not in our best 22 anymore. We'll see after this game. I think if we don't have Geary and there's Eddie Betts and Doherty, I think that gives us a headache. But I think having Geary to be able to go on both and do a job, which we know he can do, that's great flexibility for Ratton, and that's one less issue we need to deal with, and one less player that we need to move out of position to suit Carlton. Now we're playing on our terms, so that's great. I'm going to leave it there, guys, because I think we've talked about everything. My throat is killing me. I've got to save it for tomorrow night, because if we have a big win, I'll be on and we'll be talking about the Saints win, hopefully. Blair, what's the guy's Instagram that you were live before? It was Blue Abroad, so I think they're just called Blue Abroad Official on Instagram. I don't know if that is up there anymore. It was a good 5-6 minute chat, so if you want to go on there. I'll quickly shout out the Saints TV podcast. Episode last night is called Tiger Kings. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on any streaming service. Get on there and have a listen. A lot of support for that, and it was great to chat to Joycey and Marshy, and Terry from Blue Abroad called in as a special guest to preview the Carlton game. So hop on there before tomorrow and have a listen if you'd like. But until then, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you tomorrow night, hopefully, to talk about a big win. Go you Sainers.